It's not noon yet. Chad always tries to correct me, but good morning. What we witnessed today was the perfect example of this Democrat majority and how reckless they have handled this significant responsibility. In fact, I want to use Chairman Schiff's own words to describe this Democrat majority: a parody. If you watched Chairman Schiff this morning to use a fake dialogue at the top of the hearing between President Trump and the President of Ukraine, just shows how unserious they are about getting the facts. For them, it's not about the narrative, nor is it about the truth. But we already know this. Speaker Nancy Pelosi holds the office of Speaker, third in line to the presidency. She opened an impeachment inquiry without even seeing one word of evidence. In what world is that responsible? It may be one place that we would accept a freshman member of Congress to tweet we should have an impeachment inquiry. But this is the Speaker of the House. Without one bit of evidence, opens an impeachment inquiry. Even her own members question, did she move too soon? And when the evidence was released, the Democrats and many of the media twisted it to what they wanted to believe, just to fold into their political narrative. It really goes to show this is what their impeachment is all about. It's just politics. But not the politics in a way the American public expects Congress to act. This is the people's house. This is the body where the voice should be heard. Not one voice in the Speaker, but the voice of the millions of Americans who lend it to their representative. Consider the last time the House looked at impeachment of a sitting president. It first passed a resolution that recognized the importance of a full House vote. And I want to read to you what the House Reds said. Because the issue of impeachment is of such overwhelming importance, the committee decided that it must receive authorization from the full House before proceeding on any further course of action. It went on to say, because impeachment is delegated solely to the House of Representatives by the Constitution, the full House of Representatives should be involved in critical decision-making regarding various stages of impeachment. That is why you saw the resolution we brought forth on the floor last night. As we depart for a 2-week recess, every member owes it to their constituent. The constituents are the ones who lent their voice to the members for 2 years. And they should be very clear on where they stand. And if Speaker Pelosi refuses to seek approval of the whole House in this critical decision, as is in the long-standing practice of this body, taking the importance of what we're looking at today, I will again give all members the opportunity to go on record on this matter. I ask every member to take this vote seriously. America is too great for a vision so small of just impeachment and investigation. The Democrats promised they would be different if America trusted them with the majority. They have failed the American public. They have gone against the rules of this House simply for one thing: their own politics. We had a Speaker of the House move to have an impeachment inquiry without one word of evidence before she even read it. Now the evidence is out, and I think she owes the American public an apology. Yes.
McCarthy, you said a lot about Democrats, but what you didn't do is defend the president. Is the president defensible in this case?
Yes. What in this case rises to impeachment? This is a president of the United States that had a conversation with a leader in another country. Never before has a president had to put forth their conversation. The reason why he had to put forth his conversation, a whistleblower who did not hear the conversation, does not have any primary source about anything else, and now he released it not just to the members of Congress, but to the entire world. that just weakened America's national security for every president in the future. And when you read the transcript, tell me one thing in there that is impeachable. But tell me this, the Speaker of the House moved for impeachment against the rules without having the full body vote for it, without one bit of evidence. Yes, sir.
Mr. Leader, whether or not it is impeachable, and that's debatable.
I think it's very clear that it's not.
Can you comment on the president asking Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden, somebody who he might run against for president next year?
Okay, let's be very clear. The president did not ask to investigate Joe Biden. What he asked the president of Ukraine to do is to participate in an open, from the AG, investigation of what transpired in 2016. That is lawful. For us to look for another government to actually participate in an open investigation of what happened in 2016, because we want to make sure that never happens again.
Right, but he also asked, if I could follow up, he also asked Mr. Zelensky if he can look into the former vice president and his son. Yes, this was about events previous, but we all know that he might run against Joe Biden next year. What about the propriety of him doing that versus a formal government investigation by the DOJ or the FBI?
What you're reading and what you're trying to my belief, is you're misstating. When you read what the president said when he said, I have a favor, for you to work with the AG in an open process. 540 words later before Biden ever comes up. The president doesn't ask anything in that belief. What he says is what a lot of us have real concerns with. Ukraine has a challenge with corruption. You have the vice president openly saying he withheld $1 billion in 6 hours to fire a prosecutor. You have the president's son being paid from a company that's being investigated. I think everybody understands that should be looked at any time you're moving forward, that Ukraine is actually able to clean up their corruption. But let's be very clear. When you read the transcript, the president says, when he uses the word favor that everybody has been misquoting here about what transpires afterwards, to participate in an open investigation by the Attorney General, which is totally lawful, of something that transpired in 2016. Nothing about a further election, nothing about Biden in the further election either. Yes, ma'am.
Congressman, I was wondering what you think of the whistleblower allegation that White House officials stored this phone transcript in a more secure location instead of how they usually store these records.
Okay, you have a whistleblower that has no primary sources. What if it was true? Okay. You have the entire transcript. So is there a concern that you have what's going forward? Now, could I see why you would want to put it on a more secure server, knowing that earlier in his administration, a conversation with another leader from Australia was put forward? Or I watched a New York Times anonymous editorial working within the White House want to do anything to undercut him? I think in the world of technology today, yeah, people should secure what's going forward. But if that is a question of a doubt of anybody out there, like somehow that was a misdeed, you have the entire transcript. You have the entire phone call. So I don't see how that even comes into question or doubt.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you see no risk politically for you or other Republicans defending the president on this? And have any of them come to you and say, look, you know, this is kind of shaky and we have a problem with being foursquare behind the president on this issue?
Let me be very frank with you. We're at a point in time, I don't think about political risk. I think about the fiber of this nation. We're not talking about something small. Think about what we're talking about right here. Think about what the Democrats have just done to this country in the last week or in the last 2 years. They're talking about impeaching a sitting president that they have no crime for. The leader of the free world. They have an individual, the head of Judiciary Committee, that campaigned for that position based upon he would impeach the president. It goes beyond politics. This affects every American, not just every American, it affects the world. It affects our strength as a country. It affects our economic ability. You know when the Democrats ran for asking the American public to give them the majority? they promised they would be different. We have United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement. Mexico already has agreed to it. Canada is waiting on us. It guarantees more jobs and a stronger America, but we cannot do this. We have a crisis along our border, but we cannot do anything about that. We have surprise billing, where Americans go into their own network, into a hospital, they believe it's fine, and they walk away with a bill they never should have received, but we can't do anything about that. We have an ability to lower prescription drugs. We can't do any of that, because you know why? The Democrats are the one who are playing politics with this. I do not care about politics anymore. I care about this country, I care about the fiber of who we are, and I care about the future.
And if that's the case, what you're saying here then is everything is defensible. Is that fair?
Let's raise
Is that
the
fair?
question here. The president has released the entire transcript. There is nothing in that transcript that rises to impeachment. The own National Security Chair, or the Security Intel Committee Chair, just laid out in his hearing to talk about impeachment a parody. He even called it a parody. He made up the facts. This is the same chairman of Intel who just lied to the American public and said he had proof beyond circumstantial evidence. How long ago did we forget that? And what nightmare that he just put through this country for the last 20 months? How many millions of dollars have we spent? The FBI, everybody else we have gone through. Why do they continue this? And it goes to the heart of your question. It's about politics. But I think there is a moment in time that people should put the country first. Yes, ma'am.
In the whistleblower report, the whistleblower says that he or she spoke to multiple officials with the direct knowledge of this incident. So it's sort of a two-parter. One, I'm wondering what you make of that. Do you think that lends credence to the whistleblower's account? And second, it's clear that, with all due respect, despite what you said about the White House releasing the transcript, it actually was not a transcript. There was apparently a verbatim, word-for-word transcript of the call that has not been released, and I'm wondering, would you support releasing that word-for-word verbatim transcript?
I do not know of what you speak there. This is the transcript of the conversation. Look at the notes at the bottom of the transcript, and it'll show you the way that it's taken and where it's at. You're asking about a whistleblower who was not on the phone call. Everything when I read the whistleblower, which is now unclassified for the entire world to read, not one thing that the whistleblower brings forth is from a primary source themselves. It's always, I talked to somebody else. It's hearsay with somebody else. Well, that was just put to rest by having the transcript. The transcript gives you what President Trump and what the president of Ukraine said. It's for the American people to see. And there is nothing in there that is impeachable. Yes, sir.
So as this moves forward, are you open to the possibility that Trump has committed high crimes and misdemeanors, or is your mind made up?
You know what? I'm different than the Speaker of the House. I'll base it on facts. I have the fact of the phone call, that prior to even one word of the phone call coming forth, the Speaker of the House said the president has violated the law. She then went on to say we're going to have an impeachment inquiry and breaks the rules of the House with no vote on the floor, taking away the voice of millions of Americans. The phone call is now put forth. There is nothing in that phone call that raises to the level of impeachment.
Did he do anything wrong?
Yes. You know the question the Democrats are not asking, did he do something wrong? They have raised this to impeachment. That's the question that's taking place. That's a serious question. Take for a moment. I know you write a lot of conversations. I know you write a lot of stories about what happens in Congress. This is different than almost anything else we do. You're talking about changing America on its face. You can have your likes and dislikes of people, but we are very clear about what rises to the level of impeachment. But today we have a speaker who's the judge and the jury before any facts are brought forth. As I said before, America is too great for a vision so small of only impeachment and investigating. Yes, Julie.
So a few of the members from your own conference have expressed concerns. I think Will Hurd tweeted out earlier, and Mike Turner had said he doesn't think the conversation's okay. Are you concerned about the split within your own conference and that additional members will come up, and do you share any of those concerns that they've expressed?
I'm not sure what you're speaking of. I haven't had a member come to me yet on any challenge on this. I've had members who I would suspect could, and they have a whole different belief. They are frustrated with what the Democrats are doing by not basing it on any facts. Yes.
Mr. Leader.
It's clear from the transcript of the call and from what's in the public domain that Rudy Giuliani had a key role here. Two-part question for you. Are you concerned that the president was asking his personal lawyer to get involved in foreign relations with Ukraine? And second, would you have any objections to Rudy Giuliani taking questions publicly from Congress on what his role was here?
I think Rudy Giuliani takes a lot of questions publicly every day I see on TV, but Rudy is the president's personal attorney, and that's a question for Rudy. I don't have anything to that. Yes.
Leader McCarthy, with the impeachment threat, should the Republican Party be thinking more seriously about open primaries? There are 3 Republican candidates challenging Trump.
That's an interesting question why you asked that. If I look at this and all based on its facts, as a Democratic Party, I'd be really concerned about the former vice president who's leading them in the polls, because I think he has a lot of questions to answer. Hunter Biden, no experience, gets hired by an energy company that's under investigation at the time. At the time, Hunter Biden's father is the vice president of the convoy to represent America with Ukraine. Hunter Biden flies on Air Force Two. When he comes back 10 days later after going to China, lo and behold, his brilliance inside energy, which I didn't know he had any experiences, gets $1.5 billion from China. He also gets a $50,000 payment every month from Ukraine from a company that's being investigated. His father, as vice president of the United States, in his own words, tells the president of the time of Ukraine, you got 6 hours to fire a prosecutor who's investigating this. If not, you don't have $1 billion. The president of Ukraine goes back at him and says, you can't say that. President Obama has promised us this. He says, no, I have the power. I'm leaving in 6 hours. And lo and behold, the former Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, brags of his ability of getting him fired. Again, I don't play politics with this, but if you wanted to ask a political question based upon a party, that's a party I'd be afraid about. That is within a party. I want to know where the Democrats are rising up to wonder about that question, to wonder about what went on there. Answer me this. Would Hunter Biden got any of those contracts if his name was Hunter Smith? And if he flew United to China? I think not.
The thing that hasn't come up yet, I don't think, is the issue of the funding for Ukraine. The whistleblower complaint states that that was held up directly by the president. This was a process that didn't go through normal channels in the executive branch or in Congress. And in the transcript, there's a comment by the president of Ukraine about weapons and aid to Ukraine that directly precedes the president's mention of a favor. Can you speak to both the president holding that funding and that mention of funding for weapons and then the mention of a favor?
Okay, let's just deal with it on facts. Facts show that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, gave funding prior and after of the time we're talking about. If you watch where prior to this, you're taking the word of a whistleblower who says they were not on a phone call and everything that they allege they heard from somebody else. Now we have people with primary sources. You could take Senator Portman. Inside you take the president himself, the word he gave to the American public that he is very concerned about Europe and what their responsibilities to help Ukraine based upon the location of where they are to Europe and others. Now we get the conversation and the transcript. Lo and behold, what the president told the American public is what he said in that phone call. Lo and behold, the president of Ukraine says the exact same thing. So based upon all the facts, no, I'm not concerned at all. If you go to Senator Portman, who made a phone call to President Trump, he gave you the exact same conversation that he had with the president prior to the transcripts even coming out. So if I take primary source, the president of Ukraine, Senator Portman, and the actions, I think there becomes a point in time that you have to accept the truth and the facts.
Yes. Do you support the whistleblower coming before and testifying before Congress?
I don't have a problem with the whistleblower coming forward, but what I'd like to see with the whistleblower, because I'd like to see a lot of questions. Who this individual is. I know the IG says that there's political bias, he or she, but everything the whistleblower brought forth was nothing that the whistleblower witnessed personally. Take the players out of it. Put yourself in a situation that you would be in a jury. And someone's going to come forth and say, I heard this, and I heard this. And another person's going to step up and say, I was there. I witnessed it all. And it was totally contrast to what the person who told you they heard a lot, but they never witnessed anything. Where would you weigh the verdict? And all we ask is that the Democrats give the same respect they should give to every other American to this President of the United States. Thank you.